Hey, you guys. So today we're going to get a little science geeky in this episode. Don't worry, I'll make it easy. And we're going to talk about breathwork and the brain, which is really cool because you're going to discover the neuroscience of how breathing affects your decision making, anxiety levels, and your intuition, and why just breathing can transform your life more than really complex techniques. It's that simple. And some of the misconceptions is like breathwork isn't just deep breathing and you don't need to sit for hours. And it's also not about forcing intense experiences. So in today's episode, we will talk about the 3 ways that breath affects your nervous system, 4 different types of breath work and their benefits for you in practical situations and for your nervous system, and how trauma-informed breath work differs from other approaches. You will then leave with action steps. So I'll give you a simple 2-minute breathing practice, a body awareness exercise, a way to check in with your nervous system, and then how to move forward in a safe way with your breathwork progression. And then a couple integration practices. So like after you breathe, how can you integrate the change and the shift? All right, here we go. Enjoy the episode. So I wanted to start this episode with getting a sense of those times when I've felt stressed and how that felt in my body versus totally relaxed. And the first thing that came to mind was a long time ago, actually, like when I graduated from college, I moved to London. And when I moved there, I started working as a waitress at the Hard Rock Cafe. And the Hard Rock Cafe was right down in central London, across from one of the most beautiful parks in the city, Hyde Park. And there was such a stark difference in how I felt and my body felt in, okay, I'm going to work. I had to take 2 different tubes. So I'd get on the tube and transfer lines and be in all of the hustle and bustle of London, get to work, change into my uniform, and then you hit the floor running, right? If you've ever served tables, you know what I mean? And you're just going, right? And then if I was working a lunch shift, one of my favorite things to do when I got off work was to go to Hyde Park across the street. And if it happened to be a sunny day in London, which wasn't often, but if it were, I would go sit in the park, see all of the beautiful spring flowers, and just chill. Like back then, I don't even know, I don't think I had a cell phone. I think that was before cell phones or before I had one. And so I remember just enjoying, I'd bring a book, sitting out in the sun, and that was such a different state in my body. So think about a time or just recall a time where you've been stressed or just really busy. Like you have to be very on and active, and then get the sense of how your body feels, even when you recall that memory. And then the difference when you feel totally relaxed. And maybe that's sitting in a park for you. Maybe it's nature, a vacation you went on. Very different, right? That's your nervous system in action. And today we're going to explore like how your breath can be like a remote control to switch between those states. So it's not just dependent on your environment, but you can click to like a more relaxed state. So if you think of your nervous system like a car, the sympathetic nervous system is the gas pedal. So that's the part of your nervous system that gets you moving. And it helps you respond to challenges like waitressing or going to work. And it kicks in when you need energy or quick action. And you've probably heard it called like fight or flight mode. And it's super helpful when you need it. But just like if you kept your foot on the gas in a car always, it would drain your tank. So if you stay in this state too long, it can leave you feeling really depleted. And our culture and the level and amount of things we have to do and the level of go can keep us in this state where we are really draining our system. But then there's your parasympathetic nervous system. And you can think of that as your brake pedal. So it's sometimes called your rest and digest mode. But it's basically where your body shifts, like your nervous system is scanning the environment, and beneath conscious awareness, this is all happening automatically, it chooses which state it's safe to be in. So when we're in parasympathetic mode, your body is like, oh, it's safe to relax. That's where all of the healing and the restoration processes kick in. And it's where we access that like really relaxed, I'm in a park, I'm on vacation, I'm walking in nature feeling. And your mind becomes clearer because your body feels at ease. It's not, your mind isn't on high alert looking for, what do I have to do? What do I have to watch out for? So what's really cool is your breath is like having a direct line to the gas and brake pedal. And when you understand how to use it, you can shift between these states intentionally. You'll start to have more awareness of where you're at, where your body is at, and then you can create more resilience in your daily life, like lives. So then we have things to respond to. And this really widens and like adds flexibility to your nervous system and calm for your body. So let's chat a little bit about the science behind how it works. And then also really more importantly, to give you practical breathing techniques that you can use anywhere and anytime to regulate your nervous system. Okay, so first off, one part of your nervous system, and you may have heard of this, you may not have, is the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve, like when we do breath work, it tones and strengthens our vagal nerve. And you can think of it as your body's like internal communication superhighway. It's the longest nerve in your body, and it runs from your brain through your heart, your lungs, and down into your gut. So it's kind of like your body's COO, and it regulates all sorts of crucial functions like your heart rate and blood pressure, digestion, gut health, immune system, emotional regulation, and mood. Those responses that we have like fight, flight, freeze, and then our ability to also feel safe and feel social. And what makes this nerve so cool is the vagus nerve is bidirectional, meaning that it sends signals from your brain to your body and from your body to your brain. So when we breathe slowly and deeply, we're basically sending a message from the body to the brain that everything is safe by using this really cool superhighway. Okay, so now let's get to 3 ways that the breath can affect your nervous system. So one of the immediate effects is changing that fight, flight, freeze response regulation. So through slow breathing, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the brakes. And why would we want to do that? One, it slows down our heart rate. It improves digestion. It releases tension in the body and in your muscles. It actually promotes our mind feeling clear without anxiety. And it also lowers all the stress hormone production. So it seems really simple, right? But breathing slow is that cue to activate that healing, restorative part of our nervous system and for our bodies. Now, the power of the exhale, so not just slow breathing, but anytime we lengthen the exhale, so it's any bit longer than the inhale, it activates the vagus nerve, which then signals the body that it's safe to relax. So when we are stressed, just lengthening the exhale can transition us from stress mode to calm mode. It can really quickly reduce anxiety and overwhelm. That's why we commonly say, okay, pause, take a moment and just breathe, because it's actually that simple. Basically, our bodies, when we start to freak out or get stressed or panicky, it's just our body responding to something it sees as a threat. And to our nervous system, a threat means there's a lion about to eat me. And a lot of the things in our present day culture, right? They're not lions about to eat us, but your body doesn't know the difference. It's like this ancient system that we're working with. So this is how we work with it in our bodies. Then there's quick breathing. And quick breathing actually stimulates sympathetic activation so that, okay, I need to take action and respond to a challenge. So what that does is it triggers stress hormones like cortisol, adrenaline. It increases your heart rate. It moves blood from your brain to your muscles, and then it can sharpen your focus, but it also can create anxiety. That's why we're going to talk about trauma-informed breath, and it can lead to chest breathing. So if you think about it, when we are naturally scared of something or it frightens us, think about what happens to your breath, right? It gets faster and quicker, and it's often very up in your chest, and your body might naturally tense, right? So we're going to talk about what situations can we use breath in. And like I said, a good question to ask is, does my system need more activation? There are cases where it does, so we're going to talk about that. But a lot of us are functioning on a very hyper alert, hyper vigilant mode. And so that slow breathing and longer exhales can also really serve a lot of us. Okay, now the cool thing about breathing is there's a I can never say this word right, cumulative effect of building nervous system flexibility and resilience. So basically, your body has a baseline of how we respond to events around us, right? And the more we breathe and we have a regular practice, which can be really simple, like I'll give you a 2-minute breathing practice, but it helps your system basically spend more time in that parasympathetic, resting, healing mode. And the more you do that, the more time that practice grows and grows and builds nervous system flexibility. So what it does is it creates a higher threshold for when you get activated by things around you, when you get stressed. So the more it changes your baseline, so life can throw things at you and you don't get triggered into that, oh my God, freak out mode. It also, when we do have stressful events and things we have to respond to, and that could be like a presentation at work or a fight with someone you have a close relationship with or family or whatever it is, it actually improves your recovery time back to your, okay, things are good now, I can relax. So that recovery time shortens, and it also really helps you build emotional resilience, so that an awareness like, oh, okay, I just got triggered into anger right then. All right, noting that, and then how to move and metabolize basically that through the body and come back to your state of what is true for you, where you're not triggered, you're not reacting. You get to actually have choice and respond to things. Hey guys, it's Emily, and I'm just popping in here for a moment to ask you a question. Have you ever had that feeling where you're craving more connection with yourself, going in, but meditation feels impossible and other practices either feel too intense or like they're just not working? I get it. That's why I created Coming Home to You, which is a monthly Breathwork membership where transformation unfolds naturally at your perfect pace. Each month includes a 30-minute rejuvenation session and a 60-minute deep dive breath journey, plus community support and recorded sessions that you can access anytime, anywhere. And as a trauma-informed breathwork facilitator, I'm here to guide you to create that sense and feeling of coming home to yourself, where your intuition and knowing flow and choices become clear. If you're ready to experience the magic, visit emilyevansrussell.com/breathe to join us, because sometimes the simplest path home to you is through your breath. And then also, like we've talked about stress and our capacity to deal with it and deal with life. But basically, just like anything else, it's like training a muscle. So the more we breathe, the stronger response we have to stress, meaning like we can maintain calm in challenging situations. So things go on, our ability to stay present, we don't check out. We may feel pressure from the outside, but we're able to pause, like take that pause and have space between the thing that's triggering us and then how we choose to respond to it. Then one of the really cool effects of breathing is how our brain actually changes. So we now know, right, that our brain has the capacity to be constantly changing pathways. It's called neuroplasticity. And you can build new neural pathways. They're like new roads, right, in your brain. And the more you practice breath work, or like anything you'd practice, basically you are creating new response patterns, new ways to deal with and handle stress and life and triggers and things that come up. It also builds a stronger connection between your body and your mind. And so it makes calm and actually this state of presence a new normal. Because the other pathways, the other roads in our brain are pretty deeply carved, right? We've had a lifetime to respond in certain ways. And they almost become like an autopilot. If that groove is deep, think of it like the water naturally runs down through that deeper groove. So when we start anything new, we're creating a new road. And the more and more we go down it, it's like carving that groove deeper and deeper so that all of a sudden you've got your brain and your unconscious working for you to go, oh, we used to go down this path of freak out, or we used to get really anxious or really angry. And now there's this new pathway where your brain goes, oh, but I can go this way and I can breathe and let my body know it's safe and it's okay to be calm, and I can pause before reacting, which is brilliant. So when we build these new neural pathways, we also have better awareness of what is going on emotionally. So again, our body and our nervous system is scanning the environment, right? And then it's causing an emotion to have you take an action. And that could be anger, it could be grief, it could be sadness, it could be, I just want to sleep all day. When we can notice those emotions coming up and not judge them and not make them right or wrong, and here's the key thing, not holding on to them with a story, but ability to move them through with the breath. Like basically what we're doing is we are self-regulating. So like, okay, wow, I just had that conversation. I'm angry. There's anger there. Okay, let me take a moment. Let me pause. Let me breathe. Because when we acknowledge and don't try to shove down an emotion, but we're like, oh, that's here, that's present. That makes sense. Like, of course I responded in that way. And your body knows how to process, clear, digest, let go of that emotion when we actually pause and have a way to move it through the body. So basically what we're doing is we can have more conscious responses to stimulators, triggers, things in our environment, which are happening all the time. Then also, as I kind of mentioned before, the effect is cumulative or compounding. So each session of breath work, and maybe that's literally taking 3 breaths or 10 breaths or 2 minutes, compounds and builds on the last. So it creates lasting change in your brain, in the neural pathways. And so what I've seen and a lot of other people is like your overall life quality improves because we're shifting into a completely different state that supports us in making choices in our life and tapping into like not all the external noise, but going in and asking, okay, what would I like to choose here? You know, what is true for me? I've got these options. Everyone else may have opinions or points of view, but you're the one that's always going to know. So this compounding effect of more and more clarity, because we're more and more present, is huge. Like it enhances all the relationships in our lives and the way that we communicate with others and ourselves, because we're way more tuned in with what is going on for us and our bodies, so we can respond in a completely different way. Okay. So now let's talk about a few different types of breath work. So I'm going to go over 4. And these 4 are some of the ones I use the most when I work with clients and in my membership and in sessions. And they're very simple. The first one that I want to talk about is called the halo active breath. And this one is really beautiful because it activates a natural release of stress through an extended exhale. So anytime we extend the exhale, it again builds that vagus nerve, that tone. It helps us sleep. it lets the body, it shifts. It's like that remote of, oh, I can put on the brakes. It's okay. I'm not going to fall behind. I don't have to keep running. It's okay. And it creates basically like a rhythmic wave in the body that soothes our whole system and the limbic system. It's really good for beginners because it feels pretty natural. So what the halo active breath is, it is in through the nose and an exhale through the mouth. So it can sound like and I'm slowing that breath down by kind of putting my lips like I'm blowing through a straw. And the beauty in that breath is it's really great for times when we're feeling overwhelmed. And depending on the pace, it can both be used for calming and energizing. So you can do that same breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth faster, like so that would be more energizing. And then calming, you just lengthen that exhale. So a really good time to use this breath is maybe before you know you're going to have a conversation that might be difficult. Or I love to do this in the morning when I first wake up. Maybe you've received news about something or read the news. This is a great breath to do when you're feeling disconnected from your body. You know, we're so often in our heads because we have a lot to take care of in our daily lives. This is a great way to reconnect. If we have to make a choice and we want to tap in for a moment and get out of everyone else's worlds and into our own knowing. Okay, the next breath is called the bliss breath. And the bliss breath is in and out both through the nose. And when you do this, it's kind of like you use your diaphragm. So I like to put my hand on my belly and almost like if a bug had flown up your nose and you were breathing it out through your nose, like that's the bliss breath. So in and out through the nose. And because we're activating the belly, the diaphragm, to get that exhale out through the nose, and you'll notice like when you do that, the inhale naturally comes in. You don't even have to add effort to the inhale. You can, but it can also just be really like you can always adjust the pace. That's what trauma-informed breath work is. So you choose the pace and the depth and what works for you. So this is just to sort of try on a few, but because we're activating the diaphragm and the belly, it actually stimulates deeper nervous system regulation. And really, it's a really cool way to create an optimal like oxygen and carbon dioxide balance in the body, which is your system for moving all the good stuff in and all the waste stuff out, right? Also, because you're using the belly, it increases that mind-body connection even more. And of course, here's the cool thing, it supports digestive function because we're moving the diaphragm and the belly. It also can help us focus. And like when we're feeling kind of foggy or like, there's a million things, it can sort of bring it all in for us so we can draw our awareness to something that we'd like to put our attention on. The bliss breath can be really good to promote sleep. So doing it before bed can be great. Also before you eat, because it's so great for digestion, it sort of stimulates everything down there, creates that digestive fire so that when you go to eat, everything moves through and digests more easily. And it also really helps us, all breathwork does this, but connecting us to our body and our intuition, because we're basically going in. There's moments where, right when we're focusing on that exhale, that it requires our focus, so it actually brings us into more focus. So it's also great to do before you require that, before you're doing a task that you want to have like you're a lot of presence with, or you have a choice that you're looking to make and you want to get clarity. All right, the next one is the blow breath. And this breath is in and out through the mouth. So it's similar to the bliss breath, except instead of using the nose, we're going to use the mouth. And I also, again, you're going to use your belly to force the exhale out. So it can sound like It can also be much slower. And again, after that forceful exhale, the body naturally draws in the inhale. So that's a more moderate way to do it. Just concentrate on that exhale and let the inhale just flow in. So again, this one is great for moving and discharging energy that's stuck in the system. So you're like, I'm kind of like a little bit wired and there's a lot of energy going through my body. This is a great one to move it through. It also, like in a stressful situation, it can really provide like immediate relief. So maybe in your car and someone like you almost ran someone or someone like cuts in front of you, doing a little bit of this can really help release all that extra energy and stress. It's really great for clearing your mind. So when you're kind of foggy or feeling a bit sluggish, you need more energy. This gives a really natural energy boost. And it's also great for opening your voice, like kind of really stepping into that opening of your power. So like say you're about to do a presentation or talk with a friend or record a video. Awesome to do, the blow breath. Okay, last one I'm going to talk about is the tri-active breath or a 3-part breath. And what this does is it energizes that sympathetic nervous system, but in a safe way. So because it's a little more complex, it's 3 parts. So the inhale is first belly and then chest. So it's a 2-part inhale, belly, chest, and then exhale. And you can do this one all through the mouth. So it can sound like okay. And this one, because it's a little more complex, right? You have to think about, belly and then chest. It's creating new neural pathways in the brain. And it's saturating your body with oxygen. When we're breathing through the mouth, more oxygen is coming in than it does through the nose. So our brain gets stimulated. We're adding in more oxygen. We're adding in more energy. So it's kind of like without having to drink coffee, or I love to do this one in the middle of the afternoon when I often hit my little bit of an afternoon slump. I go to this breath and I don't need a cup of coffee. It also moves things through your lymphatic system. If you're feeling stuck on anything or blocked around an idea or a problem or something going on in your life, this can be really great for that. And tapping into like your creative energy. So before you maybe sit down to write or work on a project, or if you've been really in your head about something and you're like, I can't figure this out, get in the body. This is a really great breath for that. So I just wanted to go over those with you. Of course, like I offer those and these are just little takeaways. It's great to have someone guide you through this, but a lot of this is about you learning just how they feel in your body and you choosing and getting a sense of, okay, what's going on in my system and my body and which one feels really good to me right now. And that is the difference with trauma-informed breathwork. So there is not a forced breathing pattern. It's not like I'm ever going to say, okay, now we're going to take this breath and do it really fast. Like, okay, you can do that if your body is like, I would like a lot more energy and this is feeling really good and I feel safe and my body's asking for this. But there's never a prescribed or forced breathing pattern. So you're always choosing the pattern, the depth, the pacing. And at any time you get to go, this one is starting to feel like either maybe I'm checking out for my body or I'm feeling a little anxious or I'm tired. Then you get to stop altogether, slow down. It's your practice. And there's a lot of also emphasis on creating that sense of safety in the body. So first, like starting with, okay, I'm safe in my room, in my environment. I've got myself all cozied in my chair or on my couch. And we build also that body awareness gradually because you're recognizing your own body, what it's asking for, and not pushing beyond your limits because you think you have to or you need to go harder to get that big transformation. So your body and you start to have a completely different relationship. And for those of us, if you're anything like me, that's been like a high achiever or really would like to kind of like push the limit sometimes, which can be great. Trauma-informed breathwork medicine is like medicine for the body because it starts to be like, wait a second. Right now, even though I could breathe faster, what's feeling really good and nurturing is slowing down and letting myself not have to jump off the third flight of stairs and instead slowly take a lap around the valley or around the park instead of belly flopping into the deep end. And there's also, integration with this. So taking time, if you can, like after breathing, moving forward gently, like allowing you and your body to have a natural progression, because our body's timeline is very different than our minds. Like our mind might be like, okay, I want to learn this and do this faster and really advance in it. And our body's like, hey, can we go at my pace for a little bit? So it's really about honoring that and honoring your pace, which may be very different than anybody else's. Okay, so I wanted to leave you with a really simple 2-minute breathwork practice. So you can do this either seated, or if you have 2 minutes where you can like lay down on a couch or in your bed, anywhere you're comfortable, basically. And you can either start with just closing your eyes or softening your gaze if that feels better, and spending about 30 seconds just noticing your breath pattern first. When we put our awareness on something, literally the consciousness changes, right? You're breathing all day long. Your body knows how to do this. So this is just taking a moment, closing the eyes so the rest of like sensory input pauses for a moment, and you put your awareness just on your natural breath. You don't even have to change anything. Just noticing, oh, how's my breath today? Noticing maybe how the inhale and exhale feels. And then slowly just extending or lengthening your exhale. So you could naturally, a lot of us breathe in and out through our nose. You may naturally breathe in and through your mouth. It doesn't matter either way. And then start to notice and extend the exhale. So maybe you don't have to count, but say you notice like, okay, I'm breathing in for about a count of 2. And maybe I'm just going to lengthen it a little bit to maybe a count of 3. And do that for about a minute. And then when you're ready, turn back to your natural breath. So really it's like settling in 30 seconds, noticing your natural breath, and then just lengthening the exhale for about a minute. Coming back, returning to your natural pattern, and just notice, did that 2 minutes shift anything in your body, in your mind? You can also, if you want to play with any of those breath patterns, a great one to start with is the Halo Active, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And if I don't have 2 minutes or I don't want to like really think about time, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take 10 breaths. 10 breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth and lengthen my exhale a bit. It's that simple. Now here's, again, this can be, you could do it anytime, but to check in with the body, like this is a body awareness exercise. So you can do this before you breathe, after you breathe, or any time in the day. I like to do this before bed. You can do it seated, you can do it laying down. And it's literally just taking a moment to scan the body, noticing, like I like to start with the top of my head, and then just move your awareness down through the body, and you're simply noticing without judging, without having to fix or change anything, noticing areas of tension, maybe areas or places that are completely neutral, or areas that feel like there's a lot of ease or space in them. And what you're doing here is just noticing. And partly this creates a new connection with the body. There'll be things that you're like, oh, wow, I went all day and didn't notice my shoulders felt tense. But when I took a moment just to like check in, I'm like, oh, there's a little bit of tension there. Okay. And then you can, if you'd like to write down kind of what's going on, you can, but this is more just a simple practice. It's pretty calming as well. I often do it at night before bed, and then I take a few deep breaths and just feel my body settle in and my muscles relax as I, put my head on my pillow and go to sleep. Then another thing you can check in with, again, you can do this, just sort of take a moment in your day or after you breathe. I love to do this, like before and after, is kind of check in. And if I had to say, like, rate your energy level. So on a 1 to 10, I'm kind of like at a 7 today, or I'm at a 3. Notice how I'm breathing. So some days I'll notice, wow, I'm really breathing not much and up in my chest. And other times I'll be like, oh, I'm kind of belly breathing a little bit more. So just noticing where your breath is naturally moving. Check in with the jaw. Is there any tension in the jaw? How are you holding your shoulders? So like kind of check in, where's my shoulder position? And then what's cool is to have those nervous system check-ins before you do a breathing practice and after. And you can notice like, oh, wow, I have more energy. Or if you notice you're starting a session and you're feeling kind of tired, it's like, oh, okay, what energetic state would I like to be in today? Oh, I'd like more energy. Okay, I might breathe a little bit deeper or through the mouth and create a little bit of that energetic activation. Again, like you have the remote, which is so cool. And then just taking a moment to do this and knowing like what to check for. Okay, jaw, shoulders, where's my breath? How's my energy? Can also help us like when we're starting something new. I know our brains like data sometimes. It's like, oh wait, I did actually have more energy after that, or I did feel more relaxed. My jaw, like I wasn't clenching my teeth anymore after that. But if we don't give it a moment awareness, we often don't notice the shifts when they're small. And because breathwork is so simple and it's cumulative, it's like when you keep doing it, I'm sure you've experienced this with other things. All of a sudden, like you're like, wow, I feel really different. And you've been doing something consistently or, adding it into your routine for maybe a month or a few weeks. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, I notice a difference. But we often, at the beginning of something, if we can give our brains a little bit of feedback of like, oh yeah, this is worth sticking with. And then like any practice, and especially with trauma-informed breathwork, there's really this like, okay, how can you progress and move through your practice safely? So that's why that 2-minute exercise that I gave you is really just starting with observing the natural breath. And you could just stay there. And then gently adding in elongating our exhales. And that may be easy for you to play with at first. And it may just be a little fraction of lengthening the exhale. Like start where you are and there's no need to force or push or do anything. It's a very beautiful practice that unfolds and unravels and like opens up your body's wisdom. And then after that, you may want to explore different patterns or different rhythms. But basically, the key here is it's your choice. You have total sovereignty to modify, change, adjust the patterns. And then for some integration practices, like after, and this could be after anything you do, right? I'm just chatting about breath work in this episode, but giving yourself space if you can, if you don't have to jump off to get on a meeting or run out of your house, maybe taking a moment if you like to journal or write, and maybe in your journal, you kind of rate, like have a nervous system check-in. Maybe you note, wow, today, like I had some tears come up, or today I really didn't feel much, or I had some anger move through me, or a lot of joy. Maybe you note that, or sensations in the body. Maybe you did a body scan. You're like, wow, there was some tension in my belly and that released after a little bit of breathing. Maybe you take a bath. Maybe you put your face out in the sunshine or near a window, or look at a plant in the house, or cuddle with a pet. Anything to kind of allow the body time to integrate that practice. Like you've taken, whether it's 10 breaths or a couple minutes, to gift to you and your nervous system. So integration is just like allowing that to gift back to you, and that could be could be getting in the bathtub, whatever that is for you. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. And I'd always love your feedback on podcasts. So send me a DM on Instagram. You can always reach out by email and let me know how you are liking the episodes. And thanks for geeking out with me a little bit about breathwork and the brain. And I hope to see you online or in person soon. And if you'd ever like to breathe with me, oh my goodness, I'd love to have you. You can check out my website at emilyevansrussell.com. I have different options for that as well. Mwah! I hope you got something out of that episode. If you like this podcast, please share it with someone you know who'd find it useful or interesting, and subscribe so that you can listen to past and upcoming shows.